British forces here in Afghanistan have suffered their worst month since the American-led invasion back in 2001. Official figures from the Ministry of Defence showed that there were 94 British casualties in July alone. That's double the number in June and 4 times as many as in May. And there are also increasing fears that public support for Britain's involvement in Afghanistan might be waning. Colonel Stuart Tootal is still in London in our studio there. Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Shaffer is former Army intelligence officer who served 2 tours in Afghanistan. He joins us from Washington. Right here with me, Prince Abdul Ali Siraj. He is president of the National Council for Dialogue with the Tribes of Afghanistan. Gentlemen, welcome to you all, and thank you for taking part in this debate on the eve of this election. Colonel Stuart Tootal, if I can come to you again. You served here as commander of 3 Para in Afghanistan. You know the ground pretty well, and you've seen what's happened in the years since you left the army here. Do you feel that the challenges ahead have got in any way easier or tougher in a way for the British and other NATO forces that are installed in this country at the moment?
Well, I think the nature of the operating space has changed somewhat since 2006, and I mentioned earlier that there has been some progress. There has been an increase in the resources that are devoted, both from United Kingdom, NATO and United States. So I think there are some positives, but there is still some way to go, both in terms of the resources we commit as this country to our troops, and also binding into coherent strategy. I think there have also been some significant command changes on the ground, certainly General Stanley McChrystal and his 60-day review. I believe that this will potentially have a positive contribution to make. But of course, it's all very well having the plan. The key thing is that it is supported properly, and I don't just mean by increasing resources from this country, but across the NATO nations as a whole.
Tony Cheif, what about the American perspective here? Is the military strategy right at the moment? Is it a war that's winnable, or is it just one of a holding operation where we're just trying to keep stability but can't really expect to actually close the job out?
Jeremy, frankly, I think it's a winnable war. There have been huge policy problems. I stipulated it as the policy of wishful thinking, because I think so much of what we were doing were depending on President Musharraf in Pakistan trying to take care of their side of the border. That allowed for safe havens to be created and thrive. Just for background, I actually worked for General McChrystal back in 2003 and the beginning of 2004, when we were actually beginning to conduct the class of operation I believe he's now pushing in Afghanistan, which he, by the way, was very successful pushing in Iraq. Don't forget that we've had the issue of Iraq on the American plate more than the British plate, I believe, for the past 5 years. And while I think General McChrystal did learn some lessons very early about what worked and did not work in Afghanistan, he did not get a chance to really apply those. So I think now, again, to continue the answer, we've had some generals who I don't believe did have the right strategy. In many ways, they were ill-equipped. It's almost like being a podiatrist trying to handle a surgical issue. You may be a doctor, but you're not really equipped to deal with the specific applications of force relating to the policies that are important to the region. Things like counter-drug was neglected for a lot of years. No one really looked at it. When I was in Afghanistan in 03 and 04, there was only 2 drug enforcement agents there on the ground trying to do the crop eradication issue, which was a mistake. So I think now we are now establishing the right policy at the right time.